seat open. Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Tim Kubrick with Labor Relations, and I think we'll get started with introductions just to make sure everybody knows who everyone is. Start at the end here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kevin McCormick, Director, ESE.
Hi, Ed Tierney, Deputy Superintendent, Chief of Schools.
Jean Marie Middleton, Senior Attorney, Office of General Counsel.
Mark Mitchell, Human Resources.
Heather Frederick, Chief Financial Officer.
Jeff Levinson, John I. Leonard High School.
Hazel McFarland, Boynton Beach High School.
Aretha Prescott, Atlantic High School.
Randall Audi, CTA.
Angelina Galesi-Schmidt, CTA.
Patty Hatch Sabers, Lake Park Elementary.
Edith Pride, Boca Raton Elementary.
Bill Rizzo, Polo Park Middle School.
Justin Katz, CTA.
Theo Harris, CTA.
Gordon Longhofer, CTA Vice President, Pahokee Middle High School.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Today's session has been extended so that we can work through our negotiations on salary and bereavement. And our goal here is to reach an agreement. Hopefully we can. I think we can, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But first, I want to touch on, during our last session, you did present, your counter proposal. We reviewed that with the superintendent, the board, and our internal team here. We also reviewed the settlements that you brought forward or mentioned for Pinellas County and St. Johns County. So I just wanted to address some things about those. One, that St. Johns County settlement included an increase from their beginning salary. So they were at $45,487 to the base of now $47,500, but that is a point that we were at, for a couple of years now. So St. John's enrollment's also increasing. Pinellas, they did have a 3.25 blended, included the state's allocation for teacher compensation, and no one-time monies included in that as well. But they also did comply with the Florida statute that requires all, is this sound funny? Yeah. I could hear the feedback. Sorry about that. Pinellas did comply with the Florida statute where employees on the grandfather schedule receive 75% of what is awarded to the similar employee on a performance-based calendar. Pinellas does have declining enrollment, similar to us in a way, but they also have eliminated positions lost, while we've attempted to maintain these positions at our schools to reduce the impact that it would have on our schools and the students that we service. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed those things out because it was brought forward last time as, two settlements that were, in your opinion, better than ours. So with that, what we have now is we do have our counter proposal, and I will share that. So what I've got, I do have the language, but I also have a much easier thing to review here where it's broken down where we could understand it. But on the language part, it also includes the bereavement leave, so we can look at that. So yeah, I want to do those. And so if you'd like, we can, because I think we can knock it out. We'll do the bereavement first. So in the language, the packet, The first part there, the only thing that was, one of the things that was different was the up to 3 days each school year, where the proposal that you submitted didn't have a cap, which would mean that they can use it multiple times in a year. And so that was something that we looked to change. The other item was the, in the first section, 13A, after domestic partner, it also included anybody in the household. So we wish to strike that. Other than that, it remains pretty much the same.
Okay, we do see that, and we'll caucus, and we'll get back with you after we
Okay.
caucus on that.
You like to caucus now?
No,
Okay.
go ahead. Do it all at once.
All right, give me 1 second. Yeah, I haven't, yeah. So on our salary proposals, the one-page sheet, it is included in the language, but it's like 20 pages of language, and it's a lot easier to look at this, I think. So that's where we would start. Ms. Frederick, do you want to go through this?
Well, we do have a recurring increase, which is different than our last proposal. So the board did recognize what CTA was saying and the importance of having a recurring increase. They are going, a bit beyond their comfort level based on the one-time fund balance that we have available, as well as the potential increase that there could be in enrollment in order to help generate these funds on a recurring basis. So what we're proposing is a 3% blended recurring increase. And then in addition to that, using the ESSER one-time funds for a $1,250 bonus. And so that would result in highly effective of a 3.2%, effective of 2.5%, and that's inclusive of the TSIA, as well as the increase in COLA of 0.5. And then based on the statute guidance, new hires are required to have an increase in the minimum, and so that would be a 1.5% increase. And with the other language or the statute guidance about those that are on the grandfather schedule, instead of breaking out those that are on the grandfather schedule, we're assuming everybody would qualify for the higher rate, and that's the amount that we're willing to set aside. And so that we would give those employees on the grandfather schedule the ability to retroactively switch to the performance schedule if they would like. And then we would have those additional funds set aside in order to invest into a bonus back to those employees. Because we'd have to make sure that we comply with the statute. But we wanted to make sure that in terms of funding, that we're setting aside the full blended 3%. And if there were additional funds left over, because some elected to stay on the grandfather scale, that we would still be willing to set those funds aside and give them back to those members.
Through a one-time bonus.
Right, because that's the only way that would satisfy the statute.
So just to be clear, a grandfathered scheduled employee who is not willing to switch to the annual performance schedule would receive X and Y for effective and highly effective?
They would receive the same rate, the 2.5 and the 1.9, but that would create, that there would be a savings then because we're budgeting and we're setting aside a full blended 3%. So for those that elect to stay on the grandfather, that's going to, whatever those savings that are generated, we're then willing to put back into a bonus to those that elect to stay on that grandfather scale.
Spread out among the whole population that remains on the grandfather scale.
Okay.
So one time, same pay.
So, right, so we're setting aside, that the lump sum amount of money, we're willing to give that whole amount. We just don't know how many would want to stay on the grandfather scale, but we'd also want to give the ability to retroactively change if they wanted to the performance schedule.
So basically, though, you're saying that the grandfather, initially as it relates to the settlement, if they choose not to move, they would receive the required state allotment that you have listed at the bottom of your sheet. And then the difference in that and what they would have been paid had they chose to move will be given to them as a bonus.
Whatever the,
one-time.
right, so whatever the savings are that are generated, we would take that divided by the population that's there, that's remaining, and then that's the bonus they would receive. And since the bonus is only 7.65%, they would be getting a little bit more in terms of the bonus, because we take the full amount of benefits that we're budgeting as the blended 3%. And so that the amount of the bonus would fluctuate somewhat, but could be approximately, it potentially could be,
In the hundreds of dollars.
is what we would expect.
Yeah, if you think, you could just, the difference between 2.5% and 3.2 is 0.7%. You take 0.7% times the average teacher salary, it's X $100, right? So something like that.
But that's the only way in order to stay in compliance with the statute. We can't give it as a recurring increase.
Okay. All right, question? All right, so what we'll do is we'll caucus and
Okay.
let you know where we are.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
All right, so do you want to stay here, or do you want to go to another room?
It's just the recorder then. Yeah.
Let me see if.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Okay, so we'll start with the bereavement so we can move through that one. The change you made in the beginning where you took out other relatives residing in the employee's household, that language is all over our contract. It's in, as you reference here, Article 5, Section B1 and B2, it's included in those sections. So we just kind of feel that that's just, how it is. And of course, as you know, we got this as it relates to the PBA's language on bereavement. So we just didn't see a reason for that change.
Okay.
The change you made as it relates to compensatory time, we don't have a problem. In item C?
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, that's, second compensatory, right. We're in agreement with you on the comp time piece. So the only challenge we have is the other
Okay.
relatives residing in the household. 'Cause that's language all over the contract, and so that's just common, we figured. All right. Other than that, we're in agreement with the bereavement leave language. So can we TA that now, or?
We'll talk through it.
Okay, all right, no problem. And on the salary piece. Here you go, Bill. Go ahead, yeah, I want you to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Get out of practice, right?
I'm good. All right, so I will try to explain our counter. As you noted, pursuant to undesirable state statutory changes relative to grandfather pay scale and performance pay, we have the two scales separated out. Our counter would be that the high water mark moving down from our 4.3 is 3.75. We, in an effort to mitigate the damage done by that 25% gap between grandfathered and performance pay, we saw fit in our proposal to increase the COLA percentage to the highest allowable by law, which is 50% of the effective raise. In doing that, it shifts the classification of some of the percent to COLA, which is universal, away from the salary adjustment, which is governed by that 25% law now. And in doing so, the gap between grandfathered and performance pay is minimized because the COLA is universal. So if that makes any sense. And again, it all adheres to the statutory guidelines for the COLA. It basically just means that 25% spread is of a smaller chunk of money, a smaller percent of the whole, because the COLA has absorbed a piece of that and still in accordance with the law. So you can see, again, the performance pay component would be 375 and 3.22 for highly effective and effective, with the COLA being 1.0725. The grandfathered employees, or the professional contract employees, in accordance with the new law that states that grandfathers have to be 25% less than performance pay, that's what the number you see there, the 3.22, is 25% less of the salary adjustment, not the COLA, because the COLA in law says it has to be the same. And again, that's the point of us amplifying the COLA to the highest amount by law. The 3.22, and you'll see that the difference between our highly effective and effective grandfathered is nominal, and the reason for that is that the statutory language makes reference to a need for a difference between highly effective and effective on the performance pay, but in reference to the grandfathered pay schedule, we don't see that designation or that necessity. There's a reference to the word classification in the clauses that pertain to grandfathered pay schedules, but that is in reference to administrative positions and instructional positions based on what we believe the wording that you see before it. It makes reference in similar areas in the contract or in the state statute that they're talk constantly about administrative positions and instructional positions, and they use the word classification multiple times there. So that's something we can certainly point out to you in state statute. I believe we have it. So to that effect, that's our proposal for the performance pay and the grandfathered. We appreciate, and we're thinking in similar fashion with the district, that to fill that void created by the law that requires the 25% spread, that something needs to be done for those grandfathered teachers or educators. Where we didn't see eye to eye, and we hope you'll understand and be agreeable to, is whereas a bonus to fill that gap is a one-time payment, a supplement would be reoccurring, and other districts have employed just that. Monroe County has a supplement for grandfathered teachers. St. John's has a graduated supplement schedule for grandfathered teachers to enhance their salaries. So there are examples in other settlements recently and in recent years where grandfathered category employees have received a supplement, and we see it. You can see in the second bolded category, grandfather instructional supplement, where it reads, for the 21-22 school year, a teacher paid on the grandfather's salary shall receive a supplement equal to 0.53% of their current salary, which is the gap created from that differentiation we mentioned earlier. Equal to that. Once received, the supplement amount shall continue for each year. So that speaks to the classification as a supplement and for it being reoccurring, that they are employed with the district. And grandfathered instructional supplements are cumulative, assuming that potentially this may have to happen for the rest of time because of the laws changed. Each year there will be a gap that we would certainly look to mitigate. The language that you see here under the grandfathered instructional supplement mirrors most of what the Monroe grandfathered instructional supplement is. So that's our logic, that we appreciate the filling of that void or that gap created by the 25. We just want to make sure that it's reoccurring and not a one-time. And then the third component, in reference to the federal ESSER dollars, we reduced the one-time $2,500 bonus request to $2,000 and maintain the longevity bonus in there as well. We're certainly flexible on the bonus. Our priority right now is to mirror the actions taken in Monroe to make that gap for the grandfathered a reoccurring supplement, not a one-time bonus. That, speaking bluntly, is the priority for us. As far as costs go, we would certainly be able to show you that the costs are marginal in terms of an increase as a result of that supplement over the cost of a one-time package for the current year.
Any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay. Our turn to caucus. We will step in
You
the
all
other
want to
room.
stay in here? You want to go to?
Sorry?
Do you want to stay in here? Or you want to go someplace?
What would you prefer? You want to stay here? Yeah, we'll stay here, if that's all right. No, we're good, thanks. Sorry to keep you all waiting. All right, so we went through the proposal and have a couple things. First, for the bereavement leave, pretty easy, adding where did I put it? The household.
Of the family members living in the household?
Yes. We agree to that, so
Okay.
we will add that.
All right.
All right?
So we can TA that then,
Yes,
before we leave today?
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Let's do it.
And as far as the salary proposal goes, you have a copy of it in front of you. And what we're looking at here really is a blended 3.53% raise. We took into consideration what you requested for the grandfather teachers to have the annual supplement, the cumulative supplement, and what we came up with was a recurring annual supplement of $390 per teacher. Per grandfather teacher.
Okay.
And that's based on the average salary of those that fall within the grandfather scale.
So we use the salaries from those to come up with that. And then on the bonus, the 1,500, we came up to 1,500 per teacher, all employees in the T-bargaining unit. And as far as the longevity supplements, really that was something that, we saw Orange County put that together, and they don't have a referendum like we do. We saw that we needed this years ago, and we all worked together to get those referendum supplements for our teachers, and we think they're, pretty awesome. So we couldn't, go anywhere with the longevity supplements that you requested. All in all, this comes to just over 6%.
Yeah, we like the caucus, but before we do, I just want to make sure that there's some pieces that we understand I think we need to discuss. And one is that it is retroactive to July 1. And two is we need to decide how we're going to handle the problem with those teachers who have gone and won't be here at the time the board meets. If it's May, it could be, because right now it looks like it will probably be May, if at all possible. They would be gone, and of course the contract says if they're not here at the time the board ratifies, they don't get the retro. So we just want to look at some way in which we can try and address those teachers because we waited so long in terms of, trying to settle the contract. I don't know if we can pick a time in the year or what would be, a fair amount, but we do know that, we had teachers to leave. We just want to, try and find some way to look at that.
Yeah, we can talk about that, and there is keep in mind, there is a board meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And that if we are able to come to an agreement today, then we would work to do an emergency agenda item for tomorrow in order to get that on as quick as possible.
Okay. All right. Well, but still, we would want those teachers, because normally we finish up by the end of no later than third 9 weeks. And so we kind of want to see what we can do for those teachers who had to wait because we waited for various reasons.
Are you talking about teachers who have already left the system?
Right.
Like people who worked from August to February and retired in February?
No.
I don't. We could talk about it.
All right. I just wanted to, bring that, because that is a concern because of the timing of our coming to a potential settlement. All right?
Understand. All right.
Musical chairs? Yeah. Up and down.
So, one, thank you again for the offer. We feel like we are within an inch right now. Our only remaining concern is we would prefer to stick to the percent for the supplement so that like right now, under the proposal for the $390 based on the average teacher salary, which comes out to about 0.6, 0.7 that gets to the 3.5. If you're above the average teacher salary, the higher above the average teacher salary for grandfather you are, the lower your supplement is as a percent. So like if I'm at the top right now at 35 plus years at 91,000, the 390 versus the percent gap based on my salary actually puts me at 3.2 for my overall increase. If we used a percent, everyone would be precisely at 3.5, which was our goal. Gordon ran the math on that. I think that the cost came up to maybe $200,000 more, but the goal for a variety of reasons on our end was to try to make the total increase to compensation between the raise and the supplement as equal to the highly effective annual contract raise as possible, so that the disparity is not there or it's minimized, and to not put pressure on grandfathered teachers to turn away their professional contract. So right now, I believe, and again, instead of the 390, if it were to be 0.7% of your salary in a form of a supplement, a dollar amount equal to 0.7, that would get people to an equivalent 3.5 across the board, and it would raise your costs again an estimated $200,000 is what we believe.
And our concern, it wasn't the dollar amount. We just wanted to give that back to the teachers. It's the actual management of it, because that's what it's going to create, a different amount for every single teacher. And that's the concern of where we were coming from, was how to implement it.
And I think that's probably why you saw Monroe do what they did.
Well, and I think that we went and switched to percentages for raises a number of years ago because that helped alleviate compression versus giving a highly effective second-year teacher $1,500 and a highly effective 30-year. We went $1,500 for both if I have 30 years and you have 2, so we went to percentage. I don't think, based on anything I've seen from them, they ever went to percentage raises, so they've stuck with raw dollars.
Okay.
So understanding and point taken, if the difference is district staff needing to figure out a way to crunch the numbers appropriately, if that is the hurdle, we would humbly request that they take on that challenge, if only because with the 390 raw dollar amount, again, that creates a range where highly effective grandfather teachers would get between 3.2 and 3.6%, with the most experienced at that 3.2 level, because that 390 as a percent of their salary is smaller than if I'm at $52,000, that 390 is a higher percent.
Would you be open to us looking at tiers based on years of experience? So tiering it rather than having a different amount for every single employee? And we can look at that. We can run some numbers. We could caucus and run some numbers real quick, and then we can meet again.
Our goal is to get everyone as close to a total of 3.5. So if right now the 390 creates a range of about 3.2 to 3.6, if there's a way to thin that range down within a 0.1, so that right now, ideally we get to 3.5, but if somebody ends up with 3.4 or 3.45 and someone ends up with 3.55, we just want to get that 3.2 to 3.6 range down to 0 if possible. But we would entertain tiers if it reduced it to 0.1% range. But again,
I'm not sure we can get to 1/10, but we can't do different raises for each person too, because this is recurring.
Right.
You know, so if it's then when there's an increase in the next year, then you're
well, this wouldn't get recalculated or anything every year.
Yeah.
But our concern was 10 years down the road, when you're looking at it in an employee, they're going to have 10 different rows within their salary.
Unadministrable. And it's not an issue, and I respect your thought, it's not really an issue of staff time. It's unadministrable, but we were totally open, as Ms. Canoe
Yeah,
said.
if you want to give us a,
Doing some tiers, and that solves the issue, but the way it's laid out, it's just not administrable.
Well, the tiers is kind of what we looked at in that other offer we gave you from Orange.
Yes,
It was
sir.
basically a tier method. We can definitely look at that, but before we caucus,
okay.
kind of like to go through the rest of this document because there's some.
Okay, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. I thought we were good on everything.
Well, no, we
good thought.
haven't talked about it, but I do have a proposal as to how we can deal with this, though, so
Okay.
that it doesn't, add time to now. And before we caucus, I just wanted to make sure that we addressed that so we understood all the pieces.
Sure.
If you go to the section, Article 8, Section A, salary, which is number 1, and you have A, B, and C. And if you notice in C, it has the adjustment for the COLA to be 0.5%. And we've made a change in that, so we just need to make a change in that.
Yes, we
And
will
so
change
basically, with this whole document, we're going to need to sit down and kind of walk through it at a later time, but that's something we can, because we can agree to the main pieces of this and TA and be done if we can come to agreement. But then these pieces we can kind of walk through just to make sure everything is in order. The other thing that there's a change, and you've put this in there already, and the amount seems to be equivalent to the amount we've used in the past each time we've come to this salary range agreement, and that is a 3.3% for, in Section A, number 5, permanent subs.
All right.
Right,
Yeah,
so
we're-
you made that calculation of 3% already?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that's fine. And then we just, and the rest of it, we just kind of need to go through and just discuss to make sure that everything is in agreement with what we, normally do. The other item that I can mention just off the cuff right now is the placement schedule, and that's in Appendix A, number 6.
Last page.
All right, and what I noticed, and I guess I just need an explanation as to why we did it this way. It may have something to do with the state law, I'm not sure. But for the 0 to 14 and 15, there was a change, and then no change for the rest of the schedule. Why was that?
We can certainly entertain, changes through 16 through 25. We just wanted to be respectful to the intent of not hiring anybody higher than any existing teachers, right?
Correct. I'm just asking, basically now I'm just asking a question, I'm making a request.
Are you asking why the first two were adjusted?
Right, why the first two were and the other.
For that statute?
The statute, exactly right.
Statute, okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
what I
sir.
figured.
Yes, sir. The statute now requires you to be raising the minimum each
Right,
year.
right.
So that's just the formulaic of that.
For the new hires, right.
And then we adjusted 15 just to be the difference really between the new entry and basically the third level, if you would.
Right, and so this would be for this current year, 21, 22. And then 22, 23, we may have to make another adjustment if we get a raise.
Another agreement, yep, yes, sir.
Okay.
As we've done, I think we've done this routine the last couple of years.
Well, we didn't necessarily affect the starting rate each time.
Correct, that's correct.
This time now we will affect that as well. All right, so, Justin.
So two things real quick. One, just for clarification's sake, when you state recurring annual supplement, just to be crystal clear, whether it was a 390 or if there's a tier system or percent system, whatever I get this year, I am entitled to that as long as I remain an employee in Palm Beach County.
Yes.
That's what the word recurring.
That's what recurring is, yes.
Okay. And then a second request, whether it's in language or in agreement, is that at the previous meeting, we had talked about the TSIA money and how the intent, at least as expressed by the governor and the legislators who are hopefully going to continue funding that, or at least for next year, they have put some additional funds in, is that effort be made for that money to be used for veteran increases of some kind once you've hit that 47.5, which we have. Given the kind of the complexity and the evolution of this with the 25% law that came in and the starting salary and all that, and the fact that this year's allocation was only 2.5 million, give or take, but next year's is 15, we would certainly be looking for just some sort of commitment for some meetings to, assuming you agree that that's the intent of that $15 million for next year, is to assist with veterans, is to have some meetings to establish the definition of a veteran for the purpose of making sure that money, like we just want to make sure we're not being strict about it right now because things got complex with the new laws, but next year there is a substantial pile of money that should be, in our opinion, and based on the legislators, used for veterans, and we want to have that conversation as often as we have to in between now and when we settle for next year, so that when we get to the table next year, it's a chunk of money, a definition of a veteran, and then how to divvy up whatever we could mutually agree to potentially.
We can agree to that.
Okay.
Just a statement.
Right, we can agree to that, that we'll meet and.
To discuss.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion, I suggested it too.
Yeah.
Well, we're not just going to look at each other.
And Mr. Mitchell's recommendation is we work together on a tiering. We could work on that right now in order to come up with a plan. And then we did get approval that we could add this as an emergency item for tomorrow's meeting. So that would mean everybody who's active as of tomorrow would be eligible for the increase.
So where we're at right now is the 3.5 for the max, efforts to limit the range of the supplement to get as many veterans or as many grandfathered in as close to a total 3.5 on the supplement and raise as possible, with potentially the tiered system, and then the $1,500 ESSER funded bonuses.
Correct. So I would just say 3.5 blended. And
Okay.
yep, and the 1,500 from the ESSER.
Okay.
I think were you referring
And this would
to
be the best offer in the state.
No, I will articulate that I agree and I believe that the district has gone above and beyond, and that needs to be made clear to the membership, that the alternative, which is out there, is horrible in other places. So.
And we did start at 1% recurring, and the board really did, challenge staff in order to go a little bit beyond the comfort zone, and we are putting ourselves out there a little bit to hope that there is going to be an increase in enrollment. So that's, try to get the students back to Palm Beach County, so that we can make sure that we can increase our recurring revenue that we have at the district. And we're sorry that it took so long to get to this point, but this was a very challenging year.
We understand.
Right. And again, we do thank you. We do know the effort you put forth, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we can, finish up within the next few minutes.
We will finish up in the next few minutes.
Yes, we will.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think we're just going to start
Here working, or they?
working together with Gordon. I'll go and talk to Gordon.
73,999 gets 455. 74,000 to 81,999 gets $510. 82,000 to 89,999 gets 560, and 90,000 plus gets 585. And with that, I can definitely say this is the best deal in the state.
We don't argue the point.
Yeah.
We don't argue the point.
We certainly do appreciate it.
Which is great. Our teachers deserved it. We're worked through a lot these past couple of years, so we're really happy to do it.
So I think pending review of the language and everything, the concepts, everything we discussed, we understand and we're on board with, so.
Okay.
I think we have an agreement.
Right. We have an agreement. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the whole team here. Mark, Heather, working through those numbers. That was a lot. Really appreciate all that.
And the collaboration with CTA.
And yes, Mr. Longhofer, you
Works
too.
best that way.
That's how we get it done, working together. So we appreciate everyone's input and your help on getting this to this settlement.
Thank you very much.
So this is going to the board tomorrow for a good cause
Okay.
to
Now,
expedite this.
do you need our signatures on anything in particular?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Make sure you have two copies.
yeah, I've got another one here.
All right.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
again,
they have one and I have one.
with the understanding that language review and all that before, like, we agree with, we just haven't read everything clearly, so just want to make sure if there's like
Sure.
a word out of place or something.
Yep. Yeah.
Or you could do it actually tomorrow.
Okay, the language about the TISA money,
I'm sorry, what was that?
Just
For,
the willingness to meet to
to add
discuss.
that language in there, we can add that in there. We
And
can.
that could be generically like we do when we have these committees or joint committees, just to discuss
Sure.
a topic so
Like
that
we
it,
did for bereavement.
yeah,
Like
or
we did for
the
bereavement,
salary
correct.
compression and the
I
referendum.
can add it to the agenda item,
We could put it on the agenda.
and
not
we
have
did
to put
that
the
with,
language.
and we did that
We did
with
that.
the bereavement last year.
We did, the teams
Correct.
agreed to meet. to
Okay,
pull
I
it
And
can
again,
add
do-
that.
doesn't bind anybody to anything but to meet and discuss
meet.
a specific
Of
topic.
course.
correct. All right.
It's okay then if we put it on the agenda language where it's codified and not have to add it here at this time? Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, then I'll get with you guys and we'll get some signatures.
All right.
To everybody else, thank you for giving up your evening, but it was well worth it, you know, and we appreciate it.
All right,
Right,
thank
have
you.
a good night.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll meet back at the office at 7 o'clock.